Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Junto Presents. The premier podcast for genre fiction and audio drama. We bring you an original presentation performed by talented Hollywood actors utilizing top-notch audio production techniques. Join us at Franklin Manor, home to the Junto, a gentleman's club in the classic style where adventurers, mystics, and other unique individuals gather to socialize and conduct their private business. We offer you a glimpse at the strange and wonderful things to be found there. So please, sit back, relax, and enjoy the Junto Presents.
Hello and welcome to this week's Transpondence from the Archives of Franklin Manor. My name is David Parkin.
And I'm Robert Gibbs. Tonight we're coming to you from inside the vast Junto trophy room.
Yeah, calling it a room really doesn't do it justice. It's more like a trophy cavernous chamber.
Yeah, this cavernous chamber is where we keep the various hunting trophies collected over time by club members. You know, kills stuffed by taxidermists, mounted animal heads, that sort of thing. As attitudes about this subject have changed over the years, the space has really become more of a museum than anything else.
That wasn't always the case, though. The Junto's been home to many legendary hunters over the years. In fact, there was a time around the turn of the 20th century that the Junto was considered a hunting club.
Hunting had been part of the Junto's culture from its inception, but it took off in a big way due to the influence of two members in particular. One was Lord Bertram Gorbold, a disgraced British earl turned drunken rabble-rouser.
The other was Teddy Roosevelt, famed soldier, adventurer, and a president of the United States. For a time there, Gorbold and Roosevelt were in direct competition to best one another by bringing back the most exotic, dangerous, and interesting kills. The rivalry started out as friendly, but eventually it took a turn.
Yeah, the feud ended up splitting the Junto into separate factions, and a sort of mania for hunting took hold. The club started filling up with trophies from members all over the world, hence this room.
Yeah. We're not proud of it, but we do have some extremely rare and interesting specimens.
We have a gnome.
We do. An honest-to-goodness gnome.
Red hat, beard, all of it. Poor guy.
And a goblin. And a Loveland frog, and a chupacabra. We have a Mongolian deathworm, a pyrotherium, a Sasquatch.
Yeah, the list goes on.
At the height of their competition, Roosevelt formed an alliance with fellow Junto member Anjali Rajput. She was a skilled huntress in her own right and the founder of the Sisterhood of Time Travelers.
Traversers.
Oh, right. Traversers, sorry.
Together, Teddy and Anjali brought in some pretty phenomenal specimens.
Right now we're sitting in front of the giant stuffed T-Rex Teddy and Anjali brought back from the Cretaceous era. It's pretty impressive. Red-breasted, covered with feathers like a monster woody woodpecker.
Gorbold, on the other hand, fell in with the League of the Cyclic and took to traveling to alternate dimensions and parallel universes to find his kills. Lots of segmented eyes and tentacles among his trophies. It's pretty gross.
In fact, today our dispatch comes from a parallel universe in which Gorbold used to hunt.
A version of America that was a lot like ours until it, well, wasn't.
Tonight, the Junto presents the Axman Trail.
Bunyan's girl. What was her name? Whatever it was, she cried so hard after he disappeared, the salt from her tears caused the eastern drought.
That's not true. You know that, right? All those stories about Paul and his friends ain't true.
As sure as you're born, they're true. Remember that time Babe and Bunyan straightened the Red River when they chased that herd of snagglehorns into the basin? She was there, always crying about one thing or another while the lumberjack and his ox rode them gibbering jollies right out of the floodplain. Can't seem to remember her damned name, though.
You talking about Bunyan's girl?
That's right. The tall one with the braids and the boots.
You know her?
Nah.
But then what'd you interrupt us for?
The chow line in camp was a lot like the 2 braids of white hair running the length of my back. Too long and always full of garbage. I was careful to conceal my hair as I followed these 2 knuckle draggers down the line. I'd stopped correcting men like them years ago. They'd never understood my life, and no amount of bellyaching and demanding credit where credit was due would change their minds. That's how it was on the trail, listening to old hunters burping out stories like these day in and day out. Since they never bothered to learn my name, I wouldn't bother to ask theirs. The loud one was exceptionally hairy, so that's what I'd call him. As for his raw-boned friend, all it took was one whiff for the name Stinky to come to mind. The ever-moving southern migration of the monsters, coupled with the sounds of their roars, gave the North its new name. Thunderhead was a slow-moving storm front of death and destruction that claimed each city and settlement it rolled over by the beasts emerging from its shadows. The few of us who remained did what they could to stop the monsters, and the trail camps across the North were the closest any of us had to a home. The Axman Trail was a central byway through the northern wood. It was always busy, full of hunting parties from across the wooden curtain here to gather supplies, rest, and eat. After Angus, the trail cook, slopped a steaming glob of brown viscous into my tin, I took a seat at the end of one of the long split logs serving as tables. I ate alone, of course, with nothing better to do than watch the rats who lived in the ash pit below the cooking fire. The dozen or so rodents with their greasy black fur and long naked tails performed a dance with death through the cistern. They bounced in quickly to eat as many of Angus's drippings as they could before the grill ash needed replacing and he emptied the grate into the basin. The greedy rats who stuck around too long would fall under the mushrooming burst of heat and get cooked alive in the pit. No matter where you were on the trail, you could always find Angus. He was a mainstay in camp, robust, unshaven, and he only spoke to the stove he built into the massive granite panicle that rose over the trees as a visual reference. His stew pot was equally infamous, as he never washed it, or even emptied it for that matter. He just kept adding to the stew, and whatever beast, fowl, or serpent wandered too close to his blade would end up inside. If you believe the rumors, that included the roasted rats in the cistern below.
I remember one time Bunyan ate 5 sticks of dynamite on a dare.
You say that like you was there.
I was there.
Ah, come off it. You never met Bunyan once in your life, you blowhard.
The 2 clods of beer dirt sat across from me, uninvited. As Stinky wove off his partner like a pesky mosquito, Harry turned the fire hose of nonsense he called a mouth on me.
Said it tasted like eggs and breakfast sausage, which makes sense, because everyone knows his woman used gunpowder to spice up his meals. Say, I don't think I got your name.
I don't think I tossed it. Paul had been gone for almost a year now, but the stories kept on coming. That's what made him the legend he was. Some said that it took an entire bison to make just one of his boots. Some said that his axe was made from a stone that fell from the sky. Some said he was still alive. I danced to the tune of the campfire for long enough to know that whatever the truth may be, it lied somewhere far away from Harry, Stinky, and the Axman Trail.
You know he carved the Grand Canyon.
No, he did not.
My Uncle Farnsworth had a ranch hand, said he saw it with his own eyes. Some say he did it to make a wash tub for Babe. I say he did it to put some distance between he and that woman of his.
By the end, Paul was unhappy. That's the only truth I really knew about him. His friends and fellow legends had all been taken by the thunder, and for 10 years he and Babe were all that was left. They were the first 2 legends, and the last. Paul knew that the monsters were getting worse, and it was only a matter of time before there was nothing left of him but stories like these, spat out by bored beast feasts, fighting an unwinnable fight. I first met him in the part of Thunderhead they used to call Oregon. Dumpkeg was the name of the stillman on the edge of the divide who made Bunyan's whiskey in an old grain silo. One night, I happened to have made camp by the edge of the clearing when Tall Paul stopped by for a drink. He wasn't as big as they said he was, and Babe wasn't as blue, but it was him all right, and after I walked over and sat down beside him, it took all of 2 shakes of a Dangleclaw's tail before we were in love. Once, not long after that night, Paul and I went swimming in the Puget Sound. When I saw him shivering, I showed him a place I knew where a hot spring on the seafloor warmed the water. I never was a pushover, and he sure as hell wasn't a damsel in distress, but he liked it when I took over as the hero once in a while. And that's what made him special. Of course, those were the days when Pecos, John, and Stormalong were still alive, and each story shared about them over a campfire made the legends a little bit taller, a little bit stronger, and a little more heroic. Those were the days when the life of a legend meant they could take up their own part of the world and keep it safe. The days before the thunder. When the animals finally came for him, it took the biggest one in all of Thunderhead to end it. The world saw the death of Paul Bunyan and Babe the Blue Ox as the end. Nobody looked to me for help, although in truth it was I who cleared the snagglehorns from that floodplain. Nowadays you'd be lucky to hear my name mentioned at all when bags of hammers like Harry told the tale. For these last few years, humanity had begun to look a lot like those rats in Angus's basin, fighting to the last possible second before. If you ask me, it's for the best. The stew was getting a bit thin.
And what about that time she wanted to go swimming in the Puget? She was such a baby about the cold water, she made Bunyan swim down and dig a spring for her. I hear he almost drowned doing it. I tell you, that's what love does for you on the trail. It's a good thing we have rules about that sort of...
In an instant, each of the 24 hunters in camp pulled their steel and readied themselves for a fight. I noticed Harry was careful to keep behind the rest of the men, crouched below the table with his gun trained to the north where the sound had come from. Me? I just kept eating.
Pull your bolt shooter, stranger! Ain't you hearing this?
It's just a pup.
A pup? That call's coming from the treetops.
Slowly, I pulled my arrow gun from its holster on my back and took aim. My sights weren't set on the trees to the north, however. I aimed at Harry, who crouched behind the table like a frightened child.
What are you doing?
Before anybody had time to flinch, a black-scaled beast twice the size of a mountain lion burst through the branches behind the men. The animal bared its teeth and jumped for Harry's back. My bolt snagged it in midair, and the rope tied to the arrow and the leather strap around my waist flung the animal backwards into Angus's kitchen. The beast smashed through the grill and dumped over the famous stew pot, revealing the blackened, rancid bones that had collected at the bottom over the decades. The hunters turned together, but it was too late to help. With ash and fire raining down in all directions, the beast reared on me. I tightened the rope at my waist against the arrow and the monster's shoulder and racked another into the chamber. The black-scaled beast opened its gnarled fangs and jumped for me. Before its claws could make contact, I fired again, sending a bolt into its neck. As the beast landed at Harry's feet, it opened its mouth, but the sound it made came from above. A dozen guns aimed to an empty sky. All of them but mine. I simply stepped forward and ended the struggle with one final shot. A ghost wolf. They throw their call and attack from behind.
Where'd you come from? What's your name?
The other hunters gathered around as Harry offered his hand to shake. It doesn't matter what my name is. You wouldn't remember it anyway. Each of them drew short breaths when they saw the 2 braids dancing across my back as I slung my bolt gun over my shoulder and walked away.
Did you see that?
It's Sally Ann Whirlwind.
That's right. That's her name. She said that thing was just a pup. It could have killed us all.
She must have been 7 feet tall.
9.
At least. We saw it with our own eyes, gentlemen. Rode into camp without a word and took down a fire-breathing beast 3 times her size like she was cooking a meal for Bunyan himself.
Someone like that would never cook for Bunyan.
That's right. Bunyan probably cooked for her.
3 drinks for me at the 5 Storks when I tell this story.
I saw it too. We all saw it. And we're drinking for free, it's all of us.
Sally Ann was probably tracking the beast from the get-go.
As I made my way into the mountains beyond the break, I paused, feeling myself grow a bit inside my boots. The world needs heroes, someone to inspire the hope that died with the rest of the legends. Like it or not, that's exactly what I aim to give them.
I was born in old Virginia, South Carolina, right at dawn. There I called it pretty little mama, but her age I did not know. Well, her hair was brown and curly, oh, her cheeks was rosy red. On her breast she wore white lilies, all the tears that I have shed. When I'm asleep, I'm dreaming about you. When I wake, I have no rest. Every moment seems like an hour. All the pain rolls through my breast. I'd rather be in some dark holler where the sun don't ever shine.
The Junto Presents is brought to you by Dreams in the Witch House, a Lovecraftian rock opera, available at witchhouserocks.com. Tonight's program was produced by Mr. Robert J. Gibbs, written by Mr. David Parkin, directed by David Parkin and Robert J. Gibbs, and edited by Mr. Timothy Thompson. Featuring a performance by Carla Cackowski, the ghost of Dave LeBar, and the ghost of Boris Shackleton, with a musical performance by Clarence Ashley. I am your announcer, James K. Riley, reminding you that the Junto are dedicated to mutual improvement in the lives and business they embody. Who are the Junto? Perhaps, dear listener, the Junto is you.